Hello everyone, good day. This video contains the discussion of Unit 2 in Practical Research 2, which is developing a research problem. So in this video, I will be discussing four topics, which are identifying a quantitative research problem, writing a research title, writing the research background, and writing a research statement for quantitative research. This discussion will answer some important questions in developing a research problem, such as where should we get our research problems? How do we identify them? What is the importance of a well-written research title? What is the importance of a well-written research background? And why is it necessary to formulate good research questions? So, in the first part of this discussion, I'm going to present to you the first lesson, which is identifying a quantitative research problem. Identifying the area of inquiry. The ability to choose a topic is an essential skill to start a good research paper. It is important that you pick out a relevant and valuable topic and maximize the resources that you have. So the first thing you must do when conducting a research investigation is to determine a topic you want to explore or investigate. Identifying the topic is a result of your observation in real life situations. Hence, think about a topic that summarizes that observation and look for research evidence and related literature to verify the possibility of its research exploration. Then that can be used as an area of inquiry. Steps in identifying the area of inquiry. First, brainstorm for ideas. When brainstorming, it is more advisable to concentrate on topics that interest you. It is also helpful if you focus on your field. So, to look for the possible area of inquiry in your research, you may consider a topic that is related to your discipline or field, since you are building your expertise in your field. If you want to pursue a specialization in your field, then pursue a research topic that interests you. Second, read. So you need to make sure that there are resources about your topic. It gives you a preview of the possible availability of related literature for your topic of interest. So before you propose any topic or research proposal, you have to make sure that you have conducted reading of literature related to your topic. So you have to equip yourself first with adequate knowledge so that you are guided on what to do with your research. So you already have insights about your planned research. You can also justify why your proposed research is worthy to be explored. So use keywords and concepts related to your topics and explore on different sources. So you can go to research databases in the internet such as online library and Google Scholar and search for research articles and reference books that are related to your research topic. Number three, make your matrix. So look into the research gaps when reading different resources and previous researches. Research gaps are areas of the study that remain unanswered, hence its openness to be researched about. So after your literature, look for the gaps that they implied in in the information. Look for areas that you think need to be filled in. So consider the areas that are not part of the scope of the research that you think need to be answered as well. So research gaps are helpful in exploring for potential research topics. For instance, you may look into the recommendations to future researchers in previous studies. It is also helpful to review the scope of the study to help you identify possible research gaps. So consider the areas that are not yet explored based in your readings. Fourth, describe your topic of interest briefly. Analyze the angle of the topic you are really interested in. Know the value of the research topic to focus on the perspective why it is relevant. Describing your topic briefly may give you an overview of the topic is feasible to be researched about. So you have to explain why your proposed topic is worthy of study. You have to provide a rationale for your proposed research. You have to discuss the background of your research and support it with initial literature that evidently backs up your claims. So this will give you the idea of how to establish your research. Then read again. You must check the availability of the literature of your chosen topic as you may encounter modification in research writing. It may include changing the topic itself, the variables, and others as there may be too much or too little available literature. So you have to read again and again and again until you polished or finalize your research topic. You have to consider the availability of literature about your planned research. It's very important that you are well equipped in conducting research study. Then formulate your working title. Your working title focuses on the direction of your study. It helps you determine your variables and may give you a preview of its possible dynamics within your research. So after you consider the research topic that you want to pursue, you can construct now your research title. So after finalizing the variables in your research and the respondents, you can now construct your title. So working titles may change as the research writing also progresses. So it's totally fine if your research undergoes constant changes before you finalize it. You have to understand that in writing research, you will always encounter revisions after revisions. So how do you think variables are related with the range of topics in the area of inquiry? So we learned in our previous discussion that variables and their indicators limit your scope. So the things that you have to answer in your research relate back to your variables and the testing of their relationship. So designing a research useful in daily life. So it is up to you to decide on what interests you and what you review as relevant and present in your specific field of specialization. So consider again which caught your interest. So let's now go to the lesson 2, which is writing a research title. Okay, writing your research title. A research title concisely summarizes the content of the study. It is important to ensure that it differentiates the study from other existing research. So your research title should give an idea what is your study all about. Hence, it should capture the nature of your study. It's like a glimpse of your whole research and make sure it is unique. Characteristics of a well-structured research title. First, focused and direct. Should include the variables and the field of inquiry of the study, provides an idea of the study's content. So the title should contain the variables of your research. That's very basic. It is formal. Formal tone should not contain abbreviations, jargons, or colloquial terms unless these are the main focus of the study. So there should be a degree of formality when it comes to constructing the title of your research. So you should use formal terms. Brief but substantial. So usually composed of 16 essential words, consists of the most important information about the study. So you have to be straightforward and direct, include only the variables of your research and your research respondents as these are the things that you studied in your research and they already capture the whole research that you conducted. A research title should be able to summarize the study in the fewest possible words. So, as much as possible, the title should be short and concise. Next, it should be clear. Benefits those who do not know much about the field of inquiry, helps those looking for references. So you should eliminate vagueness in your research title. In quantitative studies, as much as possible, avoid being sound artistic. As what I've mentioned earlier, it should be straightforward and direct. Proper grammar and capitalization. First letter of every word is capitalized except for some words. Proper use of coordinating conjunctions, prepositions, and articles. So consider the conventionalities and technicalities in writing, such as grammar and punctuations in writing your research title. So how do guidelines help researchers in writing a research title? Okay, so these are the steps in writing a good research title. First, put the details of the research into segments. So the process of segmenting the details of the research study is helpful in determining and organizing important information. For example, what is the primary objective of your research? The primary objective of the research is to know whether listening to classical music helps students in improving their memorization skills. What are the variables of the study? Independent variable is classical music, while the dependent variable is the memorization skills. What method will I use in the study? How will I measure my variables? I plan on performing an experiment. Who will be the respondents of the study? Engineering students from XYZ University. So step 2, make a list of keywords based on the segments of the research title. So you have to look for the proper keywords that you think that capture the research that you're going to conduct. And then these keywords can be used in order to formulate your research title. Sample keywords: listening to classical music, improving memorization, experiment, engineering students from XYZ University. Okay, third, draft sentences that contain the keywords. In drafting sentences that contain the keywords, be mindful of the length of the sentence. So after you identify the keywords, thread those keywords using the appropriate connecting words. Example of a sentence containing the keywords. The study will conduct an experiment to test whether listening to classical music helps engineering students from XYZ University improve their memorization skills. So revise your research title as much as you need to throughout the writing process as long as the title still reflects the main topic of the paper. As what I've mentioned earlier, when you write a research, you will always encounter revisions after revisions, including your research title. So, as much as possible, you have to polish your research title. Fourth, formulate your research title. Okay, example of a possible research title: an experimental research on the effects of classical music to the improvement of memorization skills of engineering students of XYZ universities. Another one, effects of classical music to the memorization skills of engineering students of XYZ University, a research experiment. Okay, another one, the effects of classical music on the memorization skills of engineering students in XYZ University. Or in the format that we are obliged to follow, the possible title will be classical music and memorization skills of engineering students. By that, we can narrow down the title by eliminating unnecessary words. Okay, let's proceed to lesson 3, which is writing the research background. Okay, what is the research background? The research background is a brief and general discussion of the study based on existing literature and should introduce its purpose and its relevance to the field. It also highlights the research problem. So the research background or research introduction establishes the scope, the context, and significance of the research being conducted by summarizing current understanding and background information about the topic. So, stating the purpose of the work in the form of research problem supported by a hypothesis or a set of questions, explaining briefly the methodological approach used to examine the research problem, highlighting the potential outcomes your study can reveal, and outlining the remaining structure and organization of the research. So steps in writing a research background. First, conduct preliminary research. So preliminary research helps in grounding the current research study within the parameters of previously conducted research. Identify a writing style. So it could be deductive approach or inductive approach. When we say deductive approach, from general to specific, while inductive approach, specific to general. Emphasize the field of your research topic. So it should reflect an emphasis on the nature and the field of the current study to make readers know its focus. Read and use related literature. So the research background should include historical and theoretical context of the current topic by reading different sources. Then focus on the relevance and contribution of the study. So it should highlight the relevance and potential contributions of the current study to its field. Summarize the research background. So there must be a balance between discussing very little information or elaborating too many details that might make future sections of the paper redundant. Outlines are helpful in writing the research background. Initial contents of the outline can come from preliminary research on a topic. So in order to organize properly your research background, you can write an outline. It can provide a system wherein it emphasizes the organization and the important details. Then, characteristics of a research background. First, the research background should be written in formal and academic language. So it observes proper grammar spelling and it should be clear and understandable. It is concise, so it should be written in a brief, organized, and coherent manner. Is evidence-based. So the research background should be based on facts and evidence gathered from existing studies, and personal opinions of the researchers should not be included. It is focused on the research problem. So a well-written research background highlights important aspects of the research problem, and unnecessary and unrelated information should not be included. It explains the goals of the study, so the research background should provide justification for its possible contributions to the field. It introduces the variables of the study. So for quantitative research papers, the research background should clearly introduce and discuss the variables of the study. It cites related literature in the discussion. So a research background should provide context to the current study based on existing literature. So now let's proceed to lesson 4, which is writing a research statement for quantitative research. Statement of the problem. Statement of the problem is an integrative but brief discussion of the research problem, its context, and the questions of the study. So the statement of the problem is the research questions that your research should answer. Your data analysis and results and discussion should revolve around your research questions or statement of the problem. It is written as part of the introduction and provides a concise overview of the topic in relation to the research questions. After the research introduction or background of the study, you have to present your research questions. So basically, your research questions should be related to the other crucial parts of your research because your investigation is anchored in your research questions. A research question identifies the specific aspects of the topic that the current study seeks to investigate and may vary depending on the extent of their focus. So basically, the whole ordeal of your research should revolve around your research questions. So statement of the problem usually begins with introducing your general problem statement followed by the specific research questions that aim to address the research problem. Categories of research questions. First, descriptive research questions. Descriptive research questions are used to describe certain patterns and focus on single and non-complex variables. It may also be used to quantify or categorize variables in a study. In quantitative research, descriptive research questions are used to measure the central tendencies of your research data or frequency or percentage depending on the kind of data that you are dealing with. Comparative research questions. These are mainly used for comparing and contrasting similarities and differences between groups and variables. So comparative questions are used when you want to examine the differences and similarities between the variables after you conducted descriptive analysis, whether there's significant difference or similarities or not at all. Evaluative research questions. Evaluative research questions are formed to assess a particular observation or phenomenon based on an established model or theory. They are usually observed in organizations, workplace, programs, and effectivity of projects. So, evaluative research questions are used to test whether theoretical frameworks applied in real life situations are observable and applicable. Next, explanatory research questions. These are formed to explain, predict, change, or outcomes on observed relationships between variables and determine how one variable may have an effect on another. So, explanatory research questions are used to test relationships between variables. So, this is commonly used in correlational studies. So how are research questions related to the research problem? Research questions express the interrogative form of the research gap. It conveys a specific research inquiry and provides limitations to what extent that a research should investigate. And characteristics of good research questions. First, it should be relevant. All research questions must be relevant to the research problem, which means that it should be relatable. Next, specific. It must not be too broad or too detailed. So you have to specify the limitations and scope of your research. Next, it should be clear. Research questions should use simple language to be comprehensible. So it should be easy to understand. Next, analytical. It does not simply ask yes or no questions but needs complex analysis. So critical thinking should be applied. So higher level of thinking skills are necessary when it comes to writing research questions. Next, measurable. The measurability of the research questions indicate their feasibility and is measured through standardized tests or experiments. So the research should be feasible to conduct, meaning it is possible to conduct your proposed research. Then writing the research statement. Okay, the following guidelines may be observed in creating a well-structured research statement. Okay, first, finalize the research topic. So this will allow you to draft a coherent statement of the problem and give you guided starting point and inquiry. Then draft the research questions. So based on the finalized research topics, the draft of the research questions will reflect the aspects that the research is focused on. Next, write the general problem statement. So the general problem statement establishes the overall goal and direction of the research. It should contain the research topic, the main objective of the study, and the variables. Then refine the statement of the problem. A refined statement of the problem includes the research questions and the potential benefits of the current study. So the research questions should be written in declarative sentences. Then that's the end of the discussion. And thank you for watching.